Alright guys, welcome back to Big Al's Gaming Tale, and this is me making as much progress as I can at the moment towards building up my my army Slanesh, which is a 2000 point 40k army. I've written out the army list, which I'm going to do another video on, read out to you what's on my army list, where I'm trying to go, how I'm going to try and get there, and what boxes or what models I'm going to buy to try and get to it, and my tactics, general tactics behind it all, and all the rest of it. But today's video is, for me, whenever I start an army, one of the first things that I have to nail is the bases. I have to know what bases I'm going to put my models on, so that I can overall visualize the overall aesthetic of the force and the color scheme of the force, and the sort of world that they might be living on, and how they're corrupting the world that they're fighting upon, so on and so forth. And obviously, fighting with Slaneshi demons, this is one of the first opportunities I've ever had it is the first opportunity that I've ever had to really create some really demonic looking bases, some demon world looking bases, or bases of worlds where humans like you and I live that have been corrupted by the energies of the demons. There's not much to them so far. Their energies are essentially corrupting and manifesting themselves in and around the territories around them. Now, what I'm going to do is, I've managed to get my hands, I don't know how, in my bits box I found a load of old square bases, which of course, as you guys will know, are basically useless these days. No one uses square bases, not even really for Age of Sigmar. And I apologise guys, I know I'm topless, I've just had a bath and I'm boiling hot, and I really can't be wearing a t-shirt. I've got the heater on just to try and keep the temperature in the room just somewhat adequate, but I've got it on a low level. I am boiling hot, guys. Anyway, the two tips that I'm doing today is something that I've seen and read about in forums, and that is using, I can't remember which one it is, baking powder or bicarbonate of soda, or whether there's actually a difference between the two. To me, they kind of look like the same. I think they're a bit different, and I know a lot of people use these for snow effect bases, because of course buying snow effect from Games Workshop is incredibly expensive. Now, unfortunately, I'm not too sure. I'm just going to pause the video. We had a really cold snap here over in England not that long ago, and I left my super glue in this room, and it got so cold in here because the heating wasn't working, the boiler broke, hence why I have the electric heater in here. My super glue froze, and it hasn't frozen. There's something seriously gone wrong there with it. I've got super glue downstairs. I'm just going to go get it. It'll be a second to you guys. It'll probably be like 5 minutes to me, providing I don't trip over and fall over. See you in just 1 second. There you go guys, sorry, I wasn't sure if it was unpaused or not. Thank you for your patience. So I've got some new glue. I bought Gorilla super glue. The reason I bought this, I've got one in the box as well, which I'll put over here as a spare, is basically it's a much thicker super glue than what you would get in a normal glue. In a normal super glue like that, which you'd get in a Games Workshop. It's more of a gel-based super glue, and that for me is something which is very important. It's nice to have the choice. It'd be actually nice to have one of both, because there are two types of super glue. There's one that's sort of very runny, and can get into crevices very easily, and is very easily poured out of the bottle. And there's one like the super glue, which is actually described as a super glue gel by Gorilla, that is a gel. It's much thicker, sometimes quite hard to get out, especially when you first use it. It's nice to have both because I want to experiment, but unfortunately that's all I've got at the moment. My runny one, as I say, froze in the recent cold patch that we had over here in England. But what I want to do is I want to try and create a demonic world, and this is me purely experimenting on tips that I've read and seen on forums, paint books, so on and so forth. I do my research, and I've been in the hobby for 20 odd years, so you pick up the odd tip of the trade that sometimes a lot of the older guys, they're not on YouTube and stuff, so they can't pass it on to you guys. This is me trying to show you some of the stuff that I've learned over the years, and hopefully keep it going as we all go on and develop it. You guys have some fantastic techniques I would love to learn from you, so if you've got some particular basing ideas on how to create a demonic world without too much molding. One thing I don't like is green stuff. I can sculpt to a limited degree. Let me show you now. Where is it? I have a Vargulf, which is separated from its base at the moment because I don't want to fix it to its base yet. But I have a Vargulf there that is, you know, sculpted pretty effectively, and I can sculpt well enough that I can do it twice over and replicate the same results every time. I've just painted this one black to see what the green stuff looks like, and it looks really cool. That's going to look really cool in a Flesh Eaters Court Army eventually if I don't sell it beforehand. So I can sculpt, but guys, a lot of people can't. And green stuff, it's very I find it very hard to work with. If you have any alternatives like midi put that are a little easier to work with and are simple techniques that are very easily replicated by a fairly amateur painter or modeler, then please do feel free to share your comments in the sections below. And if you're on a really advanced guys and you just want to show off this is what I can do, please of course provide the links in as well in the comments below, or your advice about how to do this and below for those who want to try the advanced techniques. So of course it's trying stuff that progresses us as painters. Now I can't remember, guys. I do apologise. I have amnesia, short-term memory loss from a car crash that I had a while back. So I can't remember, especially having left the room, whether or not I told you that I do apologise for being topless. I've just had a bath. I'm hot, and I don't want to put a t-shirt on. I'm boiling bloody hot. So I'm right in front of a spotlight here, so to light me up. If I turn it off, it would be pitch black in here, and that is hot. So I want to be topless, and I probably will be topless for most of my videos. And this is the House of Devlin, guys. Being topless for me is not something I'm normally afraid of being. But anyway, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to do together. If you want, you can do the same thing as me, or you can see what I'm doing, and we're going to experiment with a couple of different basing techniques that can be used to create hopefully demonic worlds, or demonic like worlds. And I've lost the top to the PVA glue. How have I done that? I had it a second ago. Literally, I swear there are gremlins in my room. It was on the floor. It was on the floor in between my feet. But there we go. Anyway, I'm just trying to move this chair into position so I'm comfortable, because of course most of the time I would do my modelling facing that way, but I'm trying to do it facing the camera, but without actually getting stuff on the PC at the same time. I'm trying not to be messy. So top to the PVA glue goes there. That way I won't forget well, even if I forget where I'll put it, it's right there in front of me. What we're going to do is we're first of all simply going to try to see what effects these two give. Is it different? Now we're going to do it, what you're going to see on this particular video is the process on applying them and the different ways that you can apply them to different bases. Okay, then what I'll do is I'll do a follow-up video on how their bases look like when they've dried, and that's very important, because things can look very different when wet, when they're dry. Paints can change hues, complete contrast in colour can happen literally overnight, and one of the advantages of being a gamer who's been in the world for for the gaming world for over 20 years is I've learnt that time there's no substitute for it. You have to see, you have to be aware of what things will look like, not now, but in a few hours time, if not preferably, once they've set permanently, however long that takes. Normally it only takes an hour or two, but sometimes it can take a whole day to get to its end result. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the base and we're going to put the PVA glue actually on one of my palettes. Now guys, if you've seen my video, you'll know before. If not, go see it please. One of the tricks of the trade is blister packs, or packaging that Games Workshop provide for free. In theory, you are paying for it, but for free within their boxes. They're a little bit rarer and harder to get these days. They used to be with metal miniatures, and I'm struggling to get my hands on them now. Forge Rules seem to be the only ones who do them, but they make fantastic pallets, and so I use them as pallets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a load of PVA glue, more than I need, on there. Okay, I can always add more later, and it means if I wash it off there, it means I get it on my hand. Icky. Girlfriend's going to be wondering what I've been doing. Probably get banned from YouTube for saying that. Probably get the R rating. Probably won't be able to advertise on here and now that I've said that. White stuff on my hands, and then my girlfriend's not going to be happy. Anyway, I've got PVA glue on my palette. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that PVA glue now onto one of the bases. Okay, I'm going to use obviously a brush to do that. Okay, a wet brush. Okay, now I say this because you may be completely new to the hobby, and you may not know that you may need to wet your brushes every time you go to apply some paint. Wet your brushes and dry them off either with your fingers, or dare I do it, guys, you can with your mouth. You can actually get a very, very fine point with your mouth, as you can see there. Whereas if I was to use my fingers, it's a little hard because of the fingers. You know what I mean? They don't leave a fine point. Your mouth does it naturally. Okay, so it's nice to get a nice fine point to your brushes, or at least try to maintain as much of the point as possible of your brush. Now this is just a base coat brush, so the point on this brush isn't particularly amazing anyway. It's not a very sharp pointed brush. It's very much quite broad in essence. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to try and make sure I do this on camera. So get into a very unnatural position. Normally I like to paint quite low, or I like to paint up close like this. Okay, but I'm going to smother this particular base in PVA glue. And in many ways I wish I'd applied this directly, but my PVA glue, there's different types of PVA glue that you can buy. Some are easier to apply than others, and that one's not easy to apply because it kind of comes out more out the side of the nozzle rather than the front of the nozzle. And that's the position that you get at the moment. Okay, so that PVA glue forms a natural texture because I've applied it unevenly over the surface. Basically what I've done is I've put a lot here and a small amount here, a lot here, small amount here, and overall when that dries, hopefully it will maintain most of that imbalance, and it will actually probably generate more of an imbalance within it as well. Obviously wash your brush, guys. You do not want PVA glue setting on your brushes. It's not that hard to remove, but it's still not a nice thing to get on your brush. So there we go, we've formed an uneven pattern already on the base. Now that, and this is where I'm talking about knowing how things look like when they dry, guys, that will go clear. Okay, it's bright white at the moment, okay, but it goes clear over time, and it takes roughly 6 to 9 hours to go dry, depending on how much you've used. Now I used to use PVA glue as a water effect thing back in the old days, because it forms a very, very clear surface, and if you apply it in layers, it can be very useful and very good for doing water effects. But back in the old days, we didn't always have the advice of the elders, so to speak. And water effects, there are actual products out there for water effects now, readily available, should I say. They're always around, but they've been very hard to get hold of. And I would recommend using them instead of the PVA glue, because what happens with the PVA glue is you're gonna get impatient and you're just basically gonna pour the PVA glue in and wait for it to set, and it will never dry. The bottom part will never dry because it's not exposed to the air. So you need to do it layer by layer if you do use PVA glue to try and create water effects or little streams or creeks or anything like that. I've got creeks and streams mixed up there. Streams or creeks or anything. PVA glue is actually very, very good for that, but obviously we're trying on larger models, definitely use water effects. So what I'm going to use now is bicarbonate of soda, okay, instead of baking soda, okay. I'm going to see the effect that this has on the base, and I've just got my finger right in it. Right, so basically what I'm going to do is first of all just repaint that base with PVA glue. This is why we have a palette of PVA glue, guys, because I just put my finger in it and flipped the base by mistake and taken off a load. I'm not angry at that. Some people will be like, no. But this is what helps create that natural sort of discrepancy in the look of the model. This is what creates the texture of the model, the mistakes as much as what we do on purpose. So now that model, that PVA glue that was previously on the base, was already starting to dry somewhat. It wasn't dry, hence why it stuck to my fingers, but it was a lot drier than what I've just put on there, and it doesn't look like I've covered there, but like, trust me guys, I have. That is completely white, that base. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply bicarbonate of soda, and we'll see. Sorry, what bicarbonate of soda? What was I talking about? Bicarbonate of soda, and we're going to see how that works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the base. I'm going to find something like this, okay, my old sand bucket thing, and I'm going to place it on there so I can pour gently the sodium bicarbonate onto it. Blowing away the excess, blowing it off my PC as well. Can't believe I blew a load of bicarbonate soda onto my PC. Mong, I think they call us these days, don't they? Right. So what we'll do is we'll put that over there. Okay. What we're going to do now is we're going to do the exact same thing, because this is an experimentation phase, guys. And the important thing to remember is which base is which, and that won't be particularly hard to do, because either I'll write it down on a piece of paper as we go on. In fact, actually, I think I'll do that now. I'll go get the piece of paper, and also we'll have it in an order. So bicarbonate of soda here with PVA glue, then super glue, but we'll go through it. Okay, just give me one. You can tell I always come prepared. So I've actually got a brand new pen. So that first base we're going to call PVA with BC, okay, and BP over there for baking powder, okay, and then if we use super glue we'll put SG on it, okay. So that's the first base done and dusted, okay. Hopefully, well, not dusted, because if we dusted it there'd be no bicarbonate of soda left on it, would there? But that actually looks really nice. That would make a lovely snow effect if it continues to look like that. Some people have talked about involving within the PVA glue paint. I will do that. I want to be using a purpley paint, so I'll do that last, because obviously it ruins the PVA glue for any other possibilities that we might have. Okay, so now I get my brush again, okay, and I'm going to put it on this weird painting up here so you guys can see. Very weird indeed. And that PVA glue is actually starting to dry. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because it actually allows me to get texture a little bit more, but it means there's a bit more wastage at the same time. So you can see I've got some random texture painted onto the base. People might say, well, listen, you're applying different types of textures to the bases with PVA glue. Wouldn't that give a difference to the overall effect at the end? And yes, to some degree it might. But at the same time, it's going to be minimal, minor, because that becomes transparent when it's dry. And trust me, over time, the first one I've already done is kind of flattened already as well. Okay, it takes layers, remember, layers to build up, um, to build up, to texture, so to speak, to the model. So we're not looking at trying to generate texture through PVA glue with these particular techniques. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that base there with PVA glue, and what I'm going to write here, I'm going to write on it now what I can, is PVA plus bicarbonate plus super glue. Okay, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that, put it on my little palette thing. Okay, so you guys can see. I wouldn't normally do this, but this is just so you guys can see. And I'm going to pour it on in a manner that doesn't drop it onto the floor too much. Yeah, that's fine. It did hit the floor, so it's going to affect it slightly, but the main thing we're going to be looking at on this is we're going to be looking at the super glue. That's actually not come off at all, so that's quite good. So the bicarbonate soda so far looks amazing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get my super glue, and this is where I'm not sure whether liquid super glue would be better for basing. I wish I had it. I wish I did. I wish it hadn't have frozen. But I'm going to drop it randomly in drops, the super glue that I've got out here, into my base. And as you can see, the problem is it's a gel. I might have to get the runny glue, guys, but still, at least here we're going to get an indication of what the glue is like. Maybe if I heat it up, I've got a heater down here. Warm up, turn liquidy. I tell you what, though, you can do some nice ice crystals with that. You know, one failure equals another success. Okay, there we go. You never know, we might not need the super glue. In which case it simplifies the process, because I hate super glue. I hate super glue. Ugh. Anyway, what I might do is do another base. It's a good thing I've got a lot of bases here, isn't it? Make sure that's nice and wet. Okay, is do another base, put some more PVA glue on it. Lovely jubbly. Yeah, slop it on. There we go. Okay then. We'll put it on there. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use polystyrene cement, which is normal glue, plastic glue. Okay. With bicarbonate of soda. So we're getting there. Guys, I can't be asked to line this up in front of you. Okay, I can. I should. This is YouTube. For YouTube, I will do everything. So that way you can't say, you might fake the third result. You didn't show me it. I know you're not pedantic guys like that, but here we go. So let's see what it looks like with polystyrene cement kind of dropped onto it. Might be an interesting look. It's hard to get off that palette, that's the problem. I'm going to do 2 copies of that, guys, because I touched it again trying to get it off. But this time, guys, I'm not going to do it in front of you. There is a reason why I don't want to do it in front of you. It's because the palette thing that I'm doing it, the bicarbonate of soda drop on, is lipped, and it's making the base really hard for me to just slide off. So I'm having to try and pick it up slightly. and if I don't get it right, I'm putting my fingers onto the base, which I just don't want to do. So it's, if I do it over the palette, so I don't mess up my base, then at least then I've got two examples so I can show you what it looks like. So again, this is exactly the same as what I've just done before, but with this time out my grubby fingers all over it. Okay, so maybe that will look good. The second one actually looks really good. Depends how it dries though. Depends how it dries. The first one looks actually quite good actually, with a fingerprint. It almost looks like a face, kind of like, yeah. I wish I could pick them up and show you, but I'll get another load of fingerprints on there. So that's PVA, bicarbonate, and this time I call it polystyrene cement. Okay, i.e. plastic glue. Okay, right, next one. I'm running out of bases. I don't think I'll be doing this many experiments. I'm sure I'll have some, well, I've got circular bases anyway, but I want to do one on square bases to at least make use of them. Right, the next one is PVA glue. PVA glue. What I'll do, guys, is I'll have a look around the house as well for some normal liquid super glue at one point, just because I really want to test what the super glue looks like, because it did look really good in the ones that I've seen. Yeah, right, guys. Yeah, so basically all the super glue I kept up here for obvious reasons. It's because it was not used anywhere. Hang on. Have we got a winner? Let's have a look. Nah, it's frozen on us. It's definitely frozen on us. Anyway, obviously I kept it up here, and it got that cold. Fuck me, God, that's really has frozen. That cut off all the nozzle. It's solid all the way down to there. Yeah, that's gone. Okay, anyway, so basically what I was trying to say before I just done all that is I'm trying to I tried to find some running super glue, the typical super glue that you normally get, and I failed. So I've got so we'll just have to leave that for another day. Do another video on it. There's no harm in that, right? You only have to wait. I can go down to the corner store tomorrow, buy some. What time is it now? It's midnight now. Can't go down now, but I'll go down tomorrow and I'll do it again as a mini video accompanying this. Okay, it'll be I won't edit it in, but I'll do it as a second video. So now we're on to baking powder. Okay, I've already done the PVA glue on the base. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is, that is a different look. That is a very, very different look. Okay, so I don't know if you remember, or if you go back to see where the bicarbonate looked like. That looks like lumps of whatever. I mean, like rock. I mean, if I shake it off, put it off, it's more like rock, whereas that's more like fine sand. So there is a difference between the bicarbonate of soda and the baking powder, which is nice to know. That is nice to know indeed. I'm not going to do the mix with the super glue because the gel just doesn't. It's not for this. It's just not working for the bases. It goes where you tell it and it stays there. So it's great for modelling, but putting models together. But unfortunately, it's terrible for basing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it with polystyrene cement, and I'm also going to then mix the two together and see what we get. So this was PVA glue, this was baking powder, and that was it. Okay, baking powder, that was it. My phone, bases everywhere. Right. So we're running out of bases because I keep throwing them everywhere. Okay. So the next thing, so I might as well put a lid on that. Okay, is to do baking powder with polystyrene cement. So we've got a base. I gotta find my brush. Brush is here. It's clean already. Okay, and we paint the brush. Okay, paint the brush. Sorry, paint the brush. Paint the base with PVA glue. Try to get a little bit of texture in there by, where you can get texture is just by rotating the brush. So rotating it like so, okay, rather than just going up and down. You mix the two together. The other one is a kind of stabby, but that's bad for the brush. But it's different ways of getting different patterns with the same material that you're working with. Okay, just a little tip there, guys. Okay. I'd say almost drip some water in, see what happens, but I know what happens, it just goes runny, so we'll leave that one. Baking soda, if you did it in bits though, it would weaken the glue in certain parts, so it would actually create that little bit thicker texture in some parts, a little thinner texture in some parts. So if you want to, if you're working with a bigger base, it's no point doing it on a equivalent of a 25mm base, you know. If you're doing it on a big monster base, then like this for example, if you're doing it like on a big monster base like that, then obviously that's all schools, by the way, it looks cool. Then basically adding water can help create a little bit of depth to where the PVA is, and a little bit of just make it a different look. You can tell for yourself. Okay, so baking powder goes on. When it goes on, it's a lot harder to apply and a lot more mess. It's landed on my goddamn hoodie. Okay, why? It's fine. You can still use it. Okay. This is turning out to be a bloody bloopers comedy sketch. I'm going to do it with my fingers, guys. So get a little bit more precision in where it goes. Okay. And there we go. So there you go. You can see the look just about. Okay. And I'll do a proper look, do a proper show of this with my camera on my phone as well, so you get a close-up look. And what we're going to add to this is, so we've done just that. We'll add the glue. Okay. Okay. Let's add the glue and see what happens. Okay. Now, when I added the glue to the other one, it didn't make much of a difference now that it's starting to dry. It just looks more solid, a bit easier to paint on maybe, but it will depend how it looks like when it's painted as well. We'll see how they take the paint, but that's a nice combination. Now, obviously we can combine the baking powder and the bicarbonate of soda. So far, the bicarbonate of soda is definitely my favourite. It's a finer mix and it's easier to apply exactly where you need it. But the baking powder is very good for doing more like thicker snow or just really thick snow or ice, that kind of thing. And actually, I'll tell you what, this is really interesting. I can't show you, unfortunately. I'll try. You probably won't pick it up on camera. It's actually the one that I've put the glue on with the bicarbonate is bubbling slightly, and you can see there's that big massive crevice down it. So that might actually create a very, very textured base indeed. And it'd be interesting. But what I have heard is obviously, and I've done this before, but I've never done it with these materials, the cooking materials, is adding paint. Okay, adding paint to the PVA glue to start with. So I've got what's called here Alien Purple by Valio Game Air. Okay, and it's the colour that I love this colour. Okay, and it's the colour that I want to try and put either my bases in or my models. I've actually base coated just a practice model there in it. It's a little hard to see. I don't know where the camera is. There it is. Let's get the light up there. So you can see the light here is not very good, but it's nonetheless it's a beautiful purple, and it looks so much nicer in real life than it does on camera, partly because of the nature in which I'm filming. But what you can see is I can't do this too much, guys, so I need to see what I'm doing, and I don't want the glue running off the palette. But basically this is PVA glue here, but it's the purple. Okay. Apparently that can change the way in which it interacts with these materials. So we'll do a base one for each. In fact, actually, to be honest, bloody hell, it done off just right from the beginning. Maybe add a bit more PVA glue, because all I've done is I've painted that on and it looks like bloody paint. I don't think there was enough PVA glue in there. So what I've done, as you can see, is I've used all the PVA glue to mixed it in with the paint. It's diluted the paint colour. That's not a problem. It's actually quite a nice light look now. You can see it was just looking purple, which is not good when you're trying to create textures. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll get a big dollop of it and we'll try and create some textures with the glue, because we were able to do that before, and I like that. I like that. That looks good. Okay, we'll leave that by itself. Okay, so that's PVA and paint. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll do the same again, but with bicarbonate soda, and then we'll do the same again with the baking powder, and see if they interact differently. And then we'll do the next one. We'll do exactly the same, but we'll do it with glue as well, polystyrene cement. I do apologise the fact that we haven't got super glue, guys. I do apologise, but super glue that I think would do a good job. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I've painted the base, as you can see there. Okay, I'm going to put it on my little palette, and I'm going to put the bicarbonate of soda on. I tell you what I want to try and do is putting that bicarbonate of soda on like the way I'm doing. It's creating, it's going on in lines because of the nature in which I'm putting it on. I'm shaking it on in lines, and so it's giving it a very man-made look. It's a very linear pattern to it. So what I'll do is I'll have to separate that from and put it into an easier container, and actually maybe just sprinkle it on. I think sprinkling is a better way of doing it. So this is what have we just used? Paint and bicarbonate. Okay, and bicarbonate. I don't really know why I'm actually writing and paint, because it's pretty obvious why I've used the paint, but there we go. Okay. One other last one now, guys. If you've lasted this long, then well done. But these are the sort of things you have to do when you're creating a new army and you're serious about creating a good looking finished product. And I don't mean golden demon or anything like that. I'm nowhere near that good a painter. I'm not a competitive painter, pro painter, whatever you would call me. Okay, I'm not that. If you do call me that, then thank you very much, I'll take the compliment. But what I am is a passionate painter who likes to create good looking miniatures. And the whole point of it is, see, I'm going to try and sprinkle it. That's very hard to sprinkle. This is the baking powder. It's very hard to sprinkle because it's so soft. Oops, so soft. I've got quite a lot on there. But as I say, there we go, go back in. It looks really good though, I must admit. I don't know where to spray this. It's got to go somewhere. Underneath the table? No one will ever know. Anyway, note to self, bicarbonate messy. I will have to use a scoop. Okay, I'm actually going to write that down now. Note to self, MB, okay, bicarbonate, BC, messy, needs applicator. Okay, because I can't be doing with that. Okay, even if it works out and produces fantastic looking miniatures, I'm not doing it. Okay, so we've just done bicarbonate and paint and PVA glue. Okay, and I've run out of those square bases, but I've got some here. Another 10. Okay, and what I'm going to do is we're going to do a similar thing, but where we mix a variety of the techniques. I want to mix, this PVA is starting to get dry, so I'm going to have to hurry, especially now that it's got paint. So the PVA with the paint is going to go on here. Okay, so we've got our purple base with PVA. Okay, it's thick PVA glue, and it's forming the texture almost naturally, simply because I'm having to. Well, it's dry. That's drying. I'll then use bicarbonate of soda on it. Okay, which is definitely going to have to require larger amounts, guys, because it's so fine you can't see it when you put in small amounts on. But it looks really natural. It looks like it'd make a very nice frosting. So far, this is what I've learnt from the results that I've got in front of me. Obviously, it may change. Bicarbonate creates a lovely thin snow or slushy snow kind of look. Okay, the baking powder creates this very thick snow, almost slightly unnatural snow. It looks almost like mushrooms in points, the way it bulges out. It does form these bulges, which is interesting. And what I'm just going to do is add to that bicarbonate that I've just added to the PVA glue with paint, some glue, because the best result for the bicarbonate by far was the one mixed with polystyrene cement. It didn't look very good just with PVA and bicarbonate. It looks okay, and I would say it's basically, if you want to use it as an alternative as a fine sand. If you're finding that sand, modelling sand, is too thick for your models, then 100% absolute. I've lost my paintbrush. 100% absolutely. There it is. You would want to use bicarbonate soda. Bicarbonate is a superior product. I can tell you from here and now, even though it's not dry, forms a superior fine sand. So if you want the model looking like it's on a fine sand, like I want to do, I collect undead. Okay, I've collected undead for 20 years, so I call them undead because back then vampire counts didn't exist. But I collected Neferata in her first guise, and Vlad von Carstein, and what was his name? The one before Zacharias the Ever-Living, Malquar the Insane and stuff. Wallach, all those vampires. Oh man, it was amazing. I collected them, and I still do collect them. And I want to create. This is without the malign portent thing coming out. I was collecting them anyway. A Mortarch-led skeleton horde. I wanted to create a Forces of Lamia, which is Neferata and legions of skeletons basically, and some more Gustarkai seemingly available now. And hopefully in the new rule set I'll be able to do that very effectively. But hang on, bicarbonate and paint and PVA. Okay, there we go. I just had to write that what that down was. And if I'm having to do a desert base, which is one of the things I might want to do, I will be using bicarbonate. I will not be using sand. Believe it or not, I'll be using bicarbonate to do sand, because the sand is too big. The granules are too big to use on most models. Although it's nice to mix up sand with bicarbonate, just to get a change in the size of the granules depending on how big the base is. Small bases you don't do it. Big bases you've got a little bit more range to work with, where you've got on the edges we'll have the bicarbonate, then as we work in we'll have the sand, then we'll have some gravel and things like that. You know, you can grade it up and get bigger as you sort of get towards a main feature, which is a big rock of slate and stuff. There's some things that you can do there. Well, I'm working out what the next thing is that we need to do. So we need to do paint and PVA. Okay, so let's do the paint and PVA now. Okay, then we need to add bicarbonate. Okay, and we need to add baking. Sorry, I've mixed up some of my notes here. We need to add baking powder. It's obvious which ones are which, by the way, don't worry. I need to add baking powder and bicarbonate of soda and see what we get. Okay, so if we take that away from the results, because I don't want to contaminate what we've already done. Okay, oh no, it's one of those goddamn days. One of those days, isn't it, where if something's going to fall, it's going to fall 1,000 goddamn times. I don't even know where that base has gone. 1 second, guys. This is so unprofessional. I do apologise. I don't know what happened, but basically I've traded a base that I painted for 2 unpainted bases. I don't know if that's a win or a lose. Oh, here we go. There's the painted base, and because the PVA is getting so dry, I'm actually it didn't actually get anything on it. Didn't land on the carpet either. It just landed on a box, so it's pretty flat. But let's just give it a little top up. Okay, so there we go. So we've got a base, and I found 2 square bases. So hey, so what I'm gonna, oh no, crap! My paintbrush has just rolled onto my keyboard. Crap! Get off! I don't want PVA. I don't want pink PVA on my keyboard. So don't worry, guys. It's been wiped off. Pink. You imagine it, pink PVA or purplish lilac PVA all over your goddamn keyboard. Luckily it didn't go on to any of the keys, but what happened is I hit the enter key trying to wipe it off, so I actually stopped the video, which means this is going to be a bugger to upload because I'm going to have to merge the 2 videos, and that requires editing and it's going to require time. So I do apologise, guys, but what we've got now is we've got our base with PVA painted glue on. I've got a brush that needs cleaning, and what we're going to do is we're going to add baking powder and bicarbonate, wherever that is. Oh, it's on the floor. Okay, and we're going to see what the end result is. So the bicarbonate, remember, is the final one, so we'll put that first. Okay, we'll put that first. Okay. And then we'll put the bicarbonate, the baking powder, which is the more gloopy kind of style of thing, on after that. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll blow away the excess, which will be quite a bit, and we'll see what the final look of that is. And we've got one more, guys. Don't worry. I hope you're not bored yet. where we do all three things together and we add the glue to it, and then hopefully we also find out at one point paint PVA, okay, where we find what the overall look is when we add super glue, because apparently it does really make it look demonic, and so it's a real shame not being able to do a demonic base when that's the whole purpose of what today is about. I just heard a noise, but it's my dog. I'm not sure someone was breaking in there. Okay, here he is, come to visit. Hello, Arlo. Going to cause havoc. Good thing we're coming to the end of the video. I can see what he's about to chew up. Is you looking for me, Arlo? I'm in here. Nah, okay, bring it off. Okay, and so what will I do there? And then what we'll start off with is the finer stuff. Okay, I like this. I like the combination actually. What I would say is, don't actually settle for just one of them. Combine the two, and you get a real different feel to the base. There's multiple textures involved. How they handle painting is another matter. But so far I'm liking it. Whether they dissolve when paint is added, well, we'll find that out anyway, because there's paint in the PVA. But it's nice. It's an interesting science experiment. This is the problem. I mean, you know what? I said it's one of those days, but maybe it's changing, because you know that landed butter side up rather than butter side down. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to add the glue. Okay, and we're going to see how that changes things. Okay, so what we've got there, seem to be getting a cold, is the final mix, so to speak. So we've got bicarbonate, we've got baking powder, we've got paint, PVA, and we've got polystyrene cement. Okay. Yeah, that's everything. So what I'll do is I'll take your photo now on here and try and insert it into the video, guys, so you can see the finished product. Well, actually, I'll take a video, okay, and I'll see you in a second. So don't worry, guys, it's been wiped off. Pink. You imagine it, pink PVA or purplish lilac PVA all over your goddamn keyboard. Luckily it didn't go on to any of the keys, but what happened is I hit the enter key trying to wipe it off, so I actually stopped the video, which means this is going to be a bugger to upload, because I'm going to have to merge the two videos, and that requires editing, and it's going to require time. So I do apologise, guys, but what we've got now is we've got our base with PVA painted glue on. I've got a brush that needs cleaning, and what we're going to do is we're going to add baking powder and bicarbonate, wherever that is, that's on the floor. Okay, and we're going to see what the end result is. So the bicarbonate, remember, is the final one, so we'll put that first. Okay, we'll put that first. Okay. And then we'll put the bicarbonate, sorry, the baking powder, which is the gloopy, more gloopy kind of style of thing, on after that. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll blow away the excess, which will be quite a bit, and we'll see what the final look of that is. And we've got one more, guys. Don't worry. I hope you're not bored yet. Where we do all three things together and we add the glue to it, and then hopefully we also find out at one point paint and PVA. Okay, where we find what the overall look is when we add super glue, because apparently it does really make it look demonic, and so it's a real shame not being able to do a demonic base when that's the whole purpose of what today is about. I just heard a noise, but it's my dog. I'm not sure someone was breaking in there. Okay, here he is. Come to visit. Hello, Arlo. Going to cause havoc. Good thing we're coming to the end of the video. I can see what he's about to chew up. Is you looking for me, Arlo? I'm in here. Nah, okay, bring it off. Okay, and so what will I do there? And then what we'll start off with is the finer stuff. Okay, I like this. I like the combination actually. What I would say is don't actually settle for just one of them. Combine the two and you get a real different feel to the base. There's multiple textures involved. How they handle painting is another matter. But so far I'm liking it. Whether they dissolve when paint is added, well, we'll find that out anyway because there's paint in the PVA. But it's nice. It's an interesting science experiment. This is the problem. I mean, you know what? I said it's one of those days, but maybe it's changing because you know that landed butter side up rather than butter side down. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the glue. Okay. And we're going to see how that changes things. Okay. Okay, so what we've got there, seem to be getting a cold, is the final mix, so to speak. So we've got bicarbonate, we've got baking powder, we've got paint, PVA, and we've got polystyrene cement. Okay. Yeah, that's everything. So, what I'll do is I'll take your photo now on here and try and insert it into the video, guys, so you can see the finished product. Well, actually, I'll take a video, okay, and I'll see you in a second. Right, so these are our results that we've got here. As you can see, I've marked up very clearly what's everything. So we've got our PVA and bicarbonate, and you can see once this goes completely into focus, that is in focus actually, you can see that kind of frosting effect that it gives. You can see the super glue. Oops, yeah, okay, that wasn't good. Shit, go away, go away, you goddamn super glue. You're not wanted anyway. You're a failure. Yeah, I'll keep away from them. Yeah, that super glue, because it was a gel, was not good. But we've learned, do not use gel. But what I will want to see is how that gel forms these kind of almost like ice crystals. Because if I might do, thinking about it, instead of demonic base, why don't I actually do a frost base? You know, demons coming out of, you know, snow. That's pretty scary. PVA glue, bicarbonate, and polystyrene cement. And you see how much wetter it is than that. It's more. You can see where the glue's gone. There's much more sort of depth to the models, and it's got that wetter look. Obviously, that may change as the glue dries. PVA plus bicarbonate of soda. You see what I meant about that almost mushroom look right at the back here. Alright, let's see if I can get my finger in. Right there. Yeah? You can see that kind of mushroomy look that it can get. And that was the other one. Yeah, there were two of them. Because one I dropped, I think. Okay? So there were two of them. Okay, but you can see that's actually quite a rugged landscape that will create once it's dry. And providing it paints over well, I think we've got a winner there for a demonic landscape.
I would love to see how the super glue alters any of these results. PVA and paint. Wow, if it kept that lacquer finish, that gloss finish, that would be beautiful. PVA, paint and bicarbonate. Not too bad, I suppose. Nothing special. Bicarbonate, baking powder, paint and PVA. And mix the textures. Let's get that a bit more in the light. There we go. There we go. That is quite nice, actually. That is a very much, there's a lot going on to the texture onto that. Then we've got baking powder, paint and PVA all together. Okay, bicarbonate, paint and PVA. No, what we have said there. Oh no, over there. PVA, paint, bicarbonate, paint. Yeah, I knew we'd seen it again. Oh well, at least you've seen it twice, and I'm not impressed by that. It might paint well when I paint over it, but that's basically just sand. Okay, you might as well use sand, or do the equivalent up here just without the paint. Okay, and then you've got this one is grotesque. This would be brilliant for Nurgle players. Bicarbonate, baking powder, paint, PVA, and polystyrene cement. So the glue. You can see how bubbly that is. In fact, actually, we have a winner. If that stays like that, and when I paint over it, it has all that texture. And I could actually add a varnish over the top to keep it like that almost organic look element to it. Then we have a winner. I love that. I don't even care about what the super glue does now. That will look brilliant for my Chaos Demons of Slaanesh. Okay, guys. So I do apologise. I do apologise, guys, for the length of that video. It's a very long video. Overall, it took a lot longer than I expected, but I wanted to do it as extensive as possible, so you guys can benefit, I can benefit. I need to do it for myself, so I might as well film it, and you guys now then don't have to do it yourself anymore. Or you can do it, but you can improve upon it, or maybe you can even give me pointers and say, no, actually, mate, do the super glue. The super glue works. Or you've got some other alternative. But I've seen plenty of times on the forums people suggesting use bicarbonate and that, and they rarely give photos. If they do, it's like, okay, yeah. And now you have the video of every single step taken, and you can see it's actually not that long to do. Okay, thank you guys. This is the House of Devlin. Check out my training videos if you're into training or you want looking to get bigger. Check out my tattoo videos if you like tattoos, and just check out my general man talk videos and fighting talk and all those kind of videos as well. If you like my channel, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you later. 4 gives House of Devlin a thumb up. See you guys. Bye bye.